Hello and welcome back to Mr. Adelman's fantastic math class. Today we're going to continue on with parallel lines and proportional parts. We're going to talk today about something called the midsegment. And the triangle midsegment theorem states a midsegment, which is this right here, of a triangle is parallel to one of the sides. So in this case EB is parallel to DC, to one of the sides of the triangle, and its length is 1/2 the length of that side. So EB is going to be half of DC. So let's write that in a little abbreviated information. So it says that if B and E are midpoints of AC and AD respectively, so meaning B is the midpoint of AC and E is the midpoint of AD, then it tells us two things. It tells us that EB is parallel to DC, and that EB, the measure of EB, equals 1/2 the measure of DC. So let's take a look at how we might use this as an example, how you might see an example of this. I actually have two examples for us today. So the first one. They're going to ask us to find the value of x. And so they didn't give us much information here. You know what? I'm going to back up for one quick second and tell us that EB here is parallel to DC. Alright, sorry about that. Let's get back to this here. Alright, so it says to find the value of x. Now they didn't give us any information. They didn't tell us that KH was the midsegment, but we can figure that out. And we can figure that out because of the information given here. First of all, if you look at the segment from F to J, we see that from F to K is 4.5, and from K to J is also 4.5. That makes these two segments not only congruent, but it also tells us that K is the midpoint. K is the midpoint of FJ. And likewise on the other side, GH is 5 and HJ is also 5. So that tells us that H is the midpoint of GJ. So because of that, it tells us a couple things. It tells us that FG is parallel to KH. But more importantly for our purposes, it tells us that X is going to equal 1/2 of GH. So it's going to be just half of 10.5. So X should equal 5.25 centimeters. So really all you would have to do is divide it in 2. Or if we were given X, then we would multiply it by 2 to find FG. Alright, so let's take a look at the second type of example that you might see. It's just to find the value of X and Y. And so what information they would have to give you is not only that LP is 12 and MO is 6. If they told you those are parallel, then you would know that MO is in fact a midsegment. So if that's true, then I know that LM is going to be congruent to MN. So because of that, I know that M is the midpoint of Ln. So Lm should equal Mn. So 2 equals x. Pretty safe to say that. And likewise, we see that O is the midpoint of Pn. So those two are going to be congruent. So O is the midpoint of Pn. So PO should equal the measure of ON, and so PO is Y, and ON is 4.5 centimeters. And that's really the simplest example that you might see. We'll get more complicated stuff coming up. So that's all we have for right now. If you have any other questions, feel free to either ask me on my blog or in class. Thank you very much. Have a great day.